The stars were silent as the alien fleet entered Earth's solar system. A vast armada, hundreds of ships spanning across light years of space, hovered just outside the fringes of Earth's atmosphere. The coalition of interstellar species, united in their shared thirst for conquest, had been observing humanity from the shadows for centuries. Their scouts had collected all the data they needed. The verdict was clear. Earth was an easy target. For the Alien Alliance, an assembly of species with technology far surpassing anything humanity could fathom, this was just another world to add to their ever-expanding empire. Humans, they had concluded, were a primitive species with no hope of resistance. Their technology was crude, their military disorganized, their societies divided by constant strife. Earth's leaders had no vision, and their people were distracted by their own internal conflicts. It would take little effort to dominate them. Commanding the fleet was General Koffel, an experienced warrior from the reptilian Xenian race, whose species had conquered more than 50 worlds. He stood at the helm of the flagship, a massive craft equipped with weapons capable of obliterating entire cities in mere seconds. Koffel had led invasions before, but this one felt particularly easy. The humans had no concept of the technology his fleet wielded. They had no weapons that could pose a threat to his ships, and their planetary defenses were laughably outdated. They call themselves the dominant species of Earth, Koffel murmured to his council, his voice laced with disdain. And yet they are nothing but insects, scattered across a fragile world. Our fleet will crush them before they even realize what's happening. Beside him stood the rest of the coalition leaders, High Strategist Vera, a cerebral being from the Askara race, and Engineer Drax, a cybernetic genius from the Clithian system. Both shared Koffel's arrogance, but they were more analytical. They studied the human species from the archives, analyzing every scrap of data the scouts had brought back. The humans were primitive, yes, but the patterns in their history revealed something else, something that nagged at Drax's circuits. There's something strange about them, Drax remarked, his robotic voice echoing in the command chamber. They have a way of surviving, of adapting. I have reviewed their history, and time and again, Earth's civilizations have been pushed to the brink of extinction. Yet they endure. Koffel dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. Survival instinct. Nothing more. We'll annihilate them in one strike. They'll be no different from all the others who resisted before them. But Vera was more thoughtful. I've also noticed a pattern. When Earth is faced with destruction, it doesn't collapse the way other species would. There's an unexpected resilience, almost an instinct to fight back. They don't surrender easily. Koffel sneered. Surrender? I don't expect them to surrender. I expect them to die. He turned toward the viewing screen, where Earth loomed large, its swirling blue oceans and sprawling continents seemingly peaceful. We've waited long enough. It's time to put their so-called dominance to the test. With a final command, Koffel initiated the invasion. The fleet moved closer to Earth's atmosphere, preparing for the first strike. The plan was simple: destroy the major military capitals, disable Earth's communications, and create enough chaos to force the planet's governments into submission. In the coming hours, the people of Earth would know true fear. What the invaders didn't realize was that Earth's fight for survival had already begun, not in the way they expected, but in the hearts of every human on the planet. The battle for Earth's future wouldn't be decided by technology alone. It would be decided by something far more dangerous: humanity's unyielding will to survive. The first strike came without warning. Without a sound, the alien fleet unleashed its devastating firepower upon Earth's cities. The ground trembled as shockwaves rattled across the planet. Massive ships, glistening with dark metallic hues, descended from the sky, their weapons firing in perfect unison. Within moments, the invaders had disabled Earth's satellite systems, sending the world into darkness. Global communications went silent. Military leaders scrambled to respond, but their orders could no longer reach the front lines. The aliens, confident that the first wave would bring swift victory, watched with anticipation from their command ships as explosions rippled through Earth's most populous regions: New York, London, Beijing, and Moscow. Major cities were reduced to rubble in the blink of an eye. The attack was perfect. In the wake of the devastation, the world's governments were expected to crumble, and the planet's defenses would be dismantled within hours. But something unexpected happened. Amidst the chaos, small pockets of resistance began to emerge. In every corner of the planet, the survivors, humanity's strength, began to fight back. In New York, a ragtag group of soldiers armed with little more than outdated rifles and hand-me-down military gear mounted an attack against an alien landing craft. Their chances of survival were slim, but they fought with something the aliens hadn't accounted for: desperation. Elsewhere, civilians took to the streets, using whatever they could find: makeshift weapons, tools, even their bare hands, to resist the alien invaders. The alien technology was far superior, but humans refused to be cowed. In Moscow, an entire neighborhood, working together with military remnants, coordinated a guerrilla strike on an alien supply depot. The invaders were caught off guard, their advanced technology proving vulnerable to Earth's unpredictability. General Kothal watched in disbelief from his flagship. He had expected an easy victory, but Earth's resilience was proving to be more complicated than anticipated. "What is this?" he barked to his officers. "These humans should be cowering in fear. Instead, they're fighting back, with nothing but their primitive weapons." Strategist Vera furrowed her brow as she scanned the reports. "They're not retreating. They're organizing. The humans are coordinating their attacks despite having no centralized leadership. It's as if they're instinctively working together. They're nothing but animals." Kothal spat, slamming his fist on the console. "This won't last. Soon, we'll overwhelm them." But as the hours passed, the battle raged on with more intensity. The alien forces, expecting quick annihilation, were starting to feel the weight of humanity's determination. Earth's militaries, scattered and underfunded, had found a way to coordinate their efforts, sharing intelligence, resources, and even weapons across borders. Nations that had once been enemies now fought side by side against the invaders. Humanity's response to the alien attack was chaotic but relentless. From the jungles of South America to the deserts of Africa, humans fought with a savagery and resourcefulness that caught the aliens off guard. Even the most advanced alien soldiers, who had conquered entire civilizations in seconds, began to falter. They were used to easily subjugating worlds where the populace crumbled under the weight of their superior technology. But Earth's people, together in their diversity, united in their desperation, were unlike anything they had encountered before. Kothal watched as human forces managed to destroy one of his battle cruisers. His eyes narrowed in disbelief. "They're fighting like there's no tomorrow," he muttered. "They're more than just ants. They're a swarm." This was something the aliens hadn't expected. Humans were supposed to be helpless, weak, easily overwhelmed. They were supposed to panic, to surrender in the face of an advanced and superior force. But instead, humanity fought with a single, terrifying purpose: to survive. The invasion was far from over, but the invaders were beginning to realize they were not facing the easy conquest they had anticipated. Earth was far more dangerous than it appeared. The first alien assault had shattered Earth's major cities, but in the aftermath, something unexpected occurred. The dust settled, the fires burned, and the survivors gathered, not to mourn, but to fight. The aliens had underestimated humanity's resilience. They believed that with their superior firepower, they could extinguish all hope with one swift blow. Instead, they had triggered something far more dangerous: a collective will to survive that no invasion plan could predict. As alien forces regrouped and prepared for a second wave, they observed an unforeseen shift. Earth's defenses, once fragmented and disorganized, began to coalesce. Resistance groups, military remnants, and ordinary civilians had formed a loose but effective alliance. Earth's governments, despite being crippled, had found a way to communicate once more. The world, in all its chaos, had found unity in its desperation. In the ruins of what was once New York, a ragtag group of soldiers and survivors had managed to repair an old communications satellite, allowing them to send messages across the globe. In just a few hours, an underground network of scientists, engineers, and military tacticians had exchanged knowledge, piecing together their shattered world. The aliens had expected to fight a disjointed enemy, but now they faced an unexpected challenge, a world that was no longer divided. Humanity's resolve took shape in ways the invaders hadn't expected. The military forces, though still outgunned, had rediscovered their ingenuity. In Eastern Europe, a group of engineers managed to convert alien technology from a downed craft into makeshift weapons. In Africa, a group of guerrilla fighters used their knowledge of terrain to create traps that wreaked havoc on the alien supply lines. Even in the cities, where the damage was most severe, survivors began repurposing buildings and urban landscapes into makeshift fortresses. In the heart of one such fortress, a group of military commanders gathered around a table littered with maps and tactical data. Colonel Emily Harris, a former infantry officer, looked up from her notes and addressed the group. "We're not going to win by matching them head to head, but we can outsmart them. These aliens, they may have technology, but they're predictable. We can turn their own arrogance against them." Her words rang through the room, a spark of hope in the midst of devastation. It wasn't just about fighting back anymore. It was about exploiting the aliens' biggest weakness: complacency. The invaders had assumed that their superior technology and overwhelming force would be enough to crush humanity's will to resist. But the longer the battle dragged on, the more apparent it became that Earth's people were far more dangerous than any single weapon. On the alien flagship, General Kothal had watched as the second wave, designed to decimate Earth's defenses once and for all, faltered. His fleet's advance was slowed by human guerrilla tactics and the surprising effectiveness of Earth's reformed military forces. What had been a smooth invasion was now becoming a drawn-out conflict. "Report," Kothal growled to his subordinates. "General, we're encountering more resistance than expected," said Vera, her voice cold and analytical. "The humans seem to be using our own technology against us. They've adapted quickly." Kothal slammed his fist into the armrest of his chair, the metallic screech of the console reverberating through the chamber. "Impossible. Their technology is primitive. How can they adapt so quickly?" "It's not the technology, General," Vera replied. "It's their adaptability. They've seen our tactics, and they're learning to counter them. It's unpredictable." The realization hit Kothal like a blow to the chest. The humans weren't just fighting for survival. They were learning. And as they learned, they were growing more dangerous. What had seemed like an easy conquest was beginning to feel like a war they might not win. The longer this dragged on, the more Kothal could feel the shifting tides. This wasn't going to be a quick victory. It was becoming clear. Earth was not just a target. It was a challenge. The alien commanders watched as their fleet faltered, the frustration growing with each passing day. General Kothal's once confident demeanor was beginning to crack. His troops were no longer sweeping through the planet with ease. Instead, they were facing resistance that was growing increasingly sophisticated. As the days turned into weeks, Kothal was forced to confront a reality he had not considered in his initial calculations. This was no ordinary species. Humanity was proving to be something else entirely. Across the planet, the tides of war were shifting in unexpected ways. The aliens had anticipated that Earth's resistance would be quick to falter. Instead, they were met with an onslaught of unexpected tactics and ingenuity. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were innovating on the fly, adapting to every alien strategy with unnerving precision. In the northern regions of North America, a team of engineers had managed to reverse engineer a downed alien drone. Using its technology to create a crude but effective radar system, that allowed them to track the enemy's movements. In Europe, scattered human forces had united to form strategic alliances, sharing resources, weapons, and intelligence. What had once been a fragmented world, torn by political divides, was now fighting as one. Humanity's unity, born of necessity and desperation, had become its greatest strength. In the far corners of the planet, survivors of alien assaults began to turn the tables. One such group, deep in the forests of Brazil, had managed to mount an ambush against an alien supply convoy. With no advanced weaponry to speak of, they relied on their knowledge of the terrain, using traps, guerrilla warfare tactics, and the environment itself to strike at the invaders. The aliens, who had once considered themselves rulers of the galaxy, were beginning to realize the truth. Earth was not as weak as they had assumed. As they dug deeper into humanity's past, the invaders began to uncover an unsettling pattern. Earth's history was littered with examples of humanity's survival against seemingly insurmountable odds. From the ancient plagues that nearly wiped out entire civilizations to the more recent world wars that tore apart nations, humanity had faced catastrophe time and again. And always, they had fought back. It wasn't just a matter of fighting. It was a matter of persistence. Humanity had survived the worst the universe could throw at them, and each time, they came back stronger. Vera, the Askara strategist, had spent days poring over Earth's historical records. She had watched how humans, faced with extinction, had rebuilt entire societies from the ashes. She'd seen how they had endured climate disasters, nuclear warfare, and global epidemics. "This isn't just survival instinct," she said to Kotal, her voice heavy with realization. "It's something else. They don't just survive. They adapt, evolve, and persevere. Every time they face near annihilation, they change. They become more dangerous." Cathal stood at the observation window of the flagship, gazing down at Earth, his expression grim. "You think they're learning from us?" "They're learning from everything," Vera said. "They've been through so much in their history, and they keep coming back stronger. They don't just defeat their enemies. They reinvent themselves. Every time they face disaster, they come out on top. We're dealing with a species that's learned how to turn catastrophe into opportunity." The alien leader's mind raced. The more he studied Earth's past, the more he realized how wrong he had been to dismiss humanity as weak. These creatures, with their chaotic, fractured world, had developed a unique strength that no invader had encountered before. They were not just survivors, they were creators of their own destiny. Each failure, each setback only seemed to fuel their drive to overcome. It was a force more dangerous than any weapon they possessed. "What have we awakened?" Kotal muttered, the words laced with growing apprehension. He now understood that the humans were not simply fighting to survive. They were fighting to redefine their place in the universe. And they were doing it faster than the aliens could keep up. On Earth, humanity was just beginning to realize its own strength, and the aliens were starting to fear the consequences of underestimating this seemingly helpless planet. The war was no longer about winning. It was about survival. And in that, humanity had already won. The battle for Earth had escalated beyond anything the invaders had anticipated. Alien forces, once confident in their technological superiority, now found themselves increasingly on the defensive. General Kotal's flagship hovered high above the planet, casting a long shadow over the war below. But no longer did he feel the certainty of victory. Earth was proving to be a far more formidable foe than he had calculated. Humanity's resistance had morphed into something more organized, more formidable. The alien fleet, once scattered in their efforts to subjugate the planet, was now under constant attack. A coalition of Earth's military and civilian forces had begun to coordinate on a global scale. The resistance, once disparate and isolated, had transformed into a unified front with a singular purpose: survival. On the ground, every battle was a fight for more than just land. It was a fight for the future of the human race. Earth's cities, though devastated, had become battlegrounds of innovation and survival. In the ruins of Los Angeles, A team of hackers and engineers had managed to infiltrate the alien network, turning the invaders' own systems against them. What had been a one-way communication system was now a battleground of information, with humans intercepting alien transmissions and feeding false intelligence into their ranks. Elsewhere, a makeshift fleet of human-built ships launched from hidden military bases around the world, challenging the alien invaders' dominance of the skies. These vessels, cobbled together from remnants of Earth's industrial age, were no match for the alien warships in terms of firepower or technology, but they possessed something the invaders had overlooked: the sheer unpredictability of human ingenuity. In space, the humans used guerrilla tactics, hiding in asteroids, using the debris of their own destroyed satellites as cover, and striking the aliens in ways that rendered their advanced technology useless. As each day passed, the alien forces began to suffer the consequences of their underestimation. Supplies dwindled. Crews were stretched thin, forced to defend multiple fronts. The alien leadership, which had once been so certain of their victory, began to feel the weight of their miscalculation. Humanity's resolve had only grown stronger with each passing day. Back on the flagship, Cathal seethed in frustration. The humans weren't simply resisting. They were winning. He had believed that they would fold under the pressure, that their disunity and lack of resources would lead to swift submission. Instead, they had adapted to every challenge, turned every setback into an opportunity, and were now forcing the alien fleet to retreat. "Report," Cathal barked at his officers. "We've lost contact with several of our ground forces," said Vera, her voice calm but tinged with concern. "Our communication systems are compromised. The humans have gained access to our internal networks." "This is unacceptable," Cathal growled. "How can this be happening? We outnumber them. Our weapons are far superior. Why can't we crush them?" Vera looked out at the data streams flooding into the command center. "It's their adaptability. Every time we attack, they learn. It's not just technology. They learn tactics. They learn to anticipate our moves. It's like fighting a species that evolves in real time." Cathal clenched his fists, his mind racing. He had never encountered an enemy that could adapt so quickly, so effectively. The human spirit, their sheer will to survive, was their greatest weapon, and it was far stronger than any alien technology he had at his disposal. This wasn't just a battle of weapons. It was a battle of resolve, and humanity was proving to be the most resilient force in the galaxy. "The war is no longer just about Earth," Cathal murmured, his voice dark with realization. "It's about us. If we lose here, it will be a signal to every species in the galaxy. We were beaten by a primitive world. We cannot allow that to happen." He turned to his officers, his gaze cold and calculating. "Prepare the final assault. We'll crush them, or we'll burn this planet to the ground. We will show them that the galaxy does not belong to them, but to us." The alien fleet began to mobilize for their last push, but as they gathered their forces, Cathal couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. The humans had turned the tide, and no matter how much firepower he commanded, he had begun to fear that the victory would never be his. The true power of Earth wasn't in its weapons, but in its people. And in that, the invaders had already lost. As the alien fleet prepared its final assault, the people of Earth were not cowering in fear. They were organizing for one last stand. The resistance had grown from a scattered collection of survivors into a global force, united under a single banner: victory or extinction. The cities that had once been ruins now pulsed with a renewed energy. Earth's military, what was left of it, had joined forces with scientists, engineers, and civilians to form an unprecedented alliance. Every human capable of fighting, building, or strategizing had a role to play. In the heart of North America, a central command hub was established beneath the ruins of what had once been Washington, D.C. Led by General Emily Harris, the resistance coordinated the efforts of survivors from all corners of the planet. The alien threat had pushed humanity to its limits, but in the face of annihilation, humanity's greatest strengths resilience, innovation, and unity had come together. The task ahead was clear: stop the aliens before they wiped out Earth's future. General Harris stood before a holographic map, staring at the projected image of Cothel's flagship, still looming over the planet like an ominous storm cloud. She clenched her jaw, her mind focused. The humans were far from ready to defeat the aliens in a conventional battle, but that was no longer the plan. "We can't win by matching them strike for strike," Harris said, her voice steady but resolute. "We've learned that, but we can hit them where it hurts, where they're vulnerable. The aliens underestimated us from the beginning, and that's how we'll turn the tables. We need to take out their command structure." An intelligence officer stepped forward, pointing at a location on the map. "This is their flagship. It's heavily defended, but there's a weak spot here. We believe it's an auxiliary communications relay. If we can disrupt their ability to communicate across the fleet, they'll be blind. Their cohesion will fall apart." Harris nodded. The plan was audacious, but it was their best shot. The alien fleet was vast, but if they couldn't coordinate, they would be like 1,000 disconnected pieces, a much easier target. To pull this off, the resistance would have to rely on stealth, precision, and above all, the element of surprise. "We need everything we've got," Harris continued, her gaze sweeping over the room. "Every scrap of alien technology we've recovered, every untested idea, every fighter. This is it, the last chance. We hit fast, we hit hard, and we make them pay." As Harris's words resonated through the room, another officer stepped forward with a troubling update. "General, we've detected a massive buildup in the alien fleet. Cothel's forces are preparing a final assault. They're going to make their move soon." The air grew thick with tension. This was the moment they had been preparing for, the moment they knew was coming. Earth had a single shot at survival, and they had no time to waste. Harris turned to her second-in-command, Major Jackson. "Get the teams in position," she ordered. "We'll need every ship, every soldier, and every resource. This ends now." Meanwhile, in the heart of the alien flagship, General Cothel prepared his own strategy. He knew that the humans were planning something, but after weeks of skirmishes, the invaders had come to understand that the human capacity for surprise was far greater than they had anticipated. He had underestimated them before. Now, he wasn't taking any chances. "Prepare for the final bombardment," Cothel ordered, his voice cold and unwavering. "We will destroy their last remnants and bring this planet to heel." But even as Cothel issued his commands, a single thought gnawed at him. The longer they fought, the more humanity revealed its true nature. They were not a weak, helpless species to be crushed. They were something far more dangerous. On Earth, humanity's finest hour was rapidly approaching. The resistance was ready to give everything they had for the survival of their planet. And they knew that if they failed, there would be no second chance. The countdown had begun. General Emily Harris stood before the command center's massive monitor, her face illuminated by the glowing red of a ticking clock. The alien fleet loomed above Earth like an impenetrable wall of firepower, ready to launch its final strike. But beneath that looming threat, humanity's spirit burned brighter than ever. There was no retreat now, no second chances. If they were to survive, the resistance had to succeed in the coming hours. The strategy had been set. A small, highly trained strike force would infiltrate the alien flagship, targeting its critical communications and control systems. The rest of the resistance would hold the line on Earth, using guerrilla tactics to keep the invaders distracted and disoriented. The goal was to disrupt the alien command structure enough to cause confusion and breakdowns in coordination, leaving the invaders vulnerable to a final, coordinated counterattack. "We've only got one shot at this," Harris said, addressing her team as they prepared for the operation. "If we don't disable their communications and disrupt their fleet, everything we fought for will have been for nothing." Her team, a group of soldiers, engineers, and scientists, nodded grimly. They knew the risks. They had seen the destruction the aliens had wrought. Earth had been crippled by the initial attacks, and the resistance had lost too many to count. But in their hearts, they carried a burning truth. They could win. The plan was risky, but it was their best chance. The humans had fought, learned, adapted, and now they were ready to strike at the heart of the enemy. In the silence of the command center, Major Jackson, Harris's second-in-command, stepped forward, checking the status of the fleet. "All ships are in position," he said, his voice steady. "We've equipped them with the best we've got. Repurposed alien tech, conventional firepower, everything." Harris nodded. "Good. Once we hit their flagship, we need to keep them off balance. They'll be expecting a direct assault. We hit their communication first. If we can turn off their eyes and ears, we have a chance." As the final preparations were made on Earth's surface, the resistance fighters were readying for the distraction assault. The scattered remnants of humanity's military, civilians, and hackers had come together in the final hours, using every piece of alien technology they could scavenge. Makeshift weapons and repurposed alien tech were put to use as the resistance began to launch small, scattered attacks on alien ground forces. Each strike, while not an outright victory, created a ripple of chaos among the alien ranks. Far above Earth on the alien flagship, General Kothal was watching the final phases of his plan unfold. He stood before a massive viewing screen, gazing at the Earth below, which was beginning to burn from the alien bombardments. "Sir, our forces are ready to initiate the final strike," an officer reported. "The humans' resistance seems scattered, but they're still putting up more of a fight than anticipated." Kothal's cold gaze did not waver. "It doesn't matter. Soon, Earth will be nothing but ashes. They'll be crushed under our boots." But even as he spoke, there was a lingering doubt in his mind. The humans had shown a surprising resilience, a force that no other species had ever demonstrated. And now, as the final phase of his plan approached, Kothal could feel something in the air, an undeniable sense of uncertainty. On Earth, as the clock wound down to the last critical minutes, the resistance forces readied themselves. In space, the strike team was already on their way. The team's infiltration ship, a small stealth vessel disguised among the debris of fallen satellites, was approaching the flagship's exterior. Inside, soldiers wearing hybrid spacesuits prepped their gear, the cold, sterile environment a sharp contrast to the heated anticipation running through their veins. The final assault was about to begin. Harris's voice crackled over the communication network. "Strike team, you're on. Now or never. The world's future depends on you." With a shared breath, the team moved into position, slipping silently toward their objective. As the humans prepared to make their move, a silent understanding passed between them all. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the soul of their species, for the future of humanity, and for the one thing that had kept them going against insurmountable odds: the belief that they could win. And they would not stop until the alien fleet had crumbled. The final strike had begun. In the cold vacuum of space, the small strike team moved swiftly, their stealth ship weaving between debris from the last battle. It was a dangerous journey, threading the needle between wreckage from shattered satellites and broken alien ships, but it was their only chance. The flagship, a behemoth of alien design, hung just ahead, its surface heavily defended. The team, led by Major Jackson and a handful of elite operatives, would infiltrate the ship's lower levels, avoid detection, and reach the communications relay at the heart of the vessel. As they neared their target, Jackson gave a nod. "All right, this is it. We do this fast, or we don't do it at all." With silent precision, they boarded the flagship, slipping past its outer defenses using a combination of cloaking devices and their intimate knowledge of alien technology, gleaned from weeks of scavenging and reverse engineering. The alien systems were formidable, but humanity had adapted. Each step was calculated, the team moving like ghosts through the corridors of the vast alien ship, staying in the shadows, avoiding detection. Back on Earth, the resistance was putting up a desperate fight. The cities had become war zones, with pockets of human forces striking when and where they could, keeping the alien forces scattered and disoriented. Guerrilla fighters sabotaged alien outposts, while makeshift armored vehicles and hacked alien drones launched hit-and-run attacks. Every small victory they earned added weight to their plan. Earth was not giving up. General Harris watched the feeds in the underground command center, her eyes locked on the battle unfolding. "Hold them off," she murmured. "Just a little longer." The minutes stretched into what felt like hours as the strike team closed in on the communications relay. The silence of the ship was broken only by the hum of alien machinery and the occasional flicker of lights. The final approach was perilous. They had to access the core of the communications system, a fortified room deep within the ship's belly, to sever the alien command structure. If they failed, the entire resistance would crumble. Almost there, Jackson whispered into his communicator, his voice low. "Prepare to breach on my mark." The team took their positions, weapons drawn. The door to the core room was thick and reinforced, but nothing humanity had faced had been impossible to overcome. They'd hacked, repaired, and adapted alien technology before. This would be no different. On the other side of the door, alien soldiers waited, unaware of the humans closing in. Jackson gave the signal, and with a burst of energy, the door exploded inward, revealing the heart of the alien communications system. It was chaos. The aliens scrambled to defend their most critical asset, but the strike team was relentless. With coordinated precision, they overpowered the alien guards, using their own tech against them. Explosives were planted at key locations, and the core systems began to malfunction. Jackson's voice came through the comms. "We've done it. The network is down. They won't be able to communicate, not for long." But the flagship's defense systems were already responding. An alarm blared throughout the ship as reinforcements surged in. The team had triggered the final defense mechanism. It was now or never. The strike team fought their way out, heading back to their ship as alarms echoed throughout the vessel. But there was no turning back now. The chaos they had unleashed was spreading across the fleet. The alien ships, now isolated and blind without their communications network, turned on each other. The invaders had been masters of coordination, but now they were vulnerable. Back on Earth, the Resistance seized their chance. Coordinated attacks from all fronts launched with new ferocity. Alien warships above Earth began to crumble as the humans, using the chaos to their advantage, deployed every weapon they could muster. The aliens had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight. On the alien flagship, General Kothel stood frozen before his command console, watching the destruction unfold. His fleet was in disarray. The humans had done the impossible. His eyes narrowed, not with anger, but with a deep, creeping fear. They were losing. Humanity had done what no one believed possible. The invaders, once confident in their superiority, were now on the run. The final push had turned the tide, and Earth was no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for victory. As the alien forces scattered, Kothel ordered the retreat, but it was too late. The damage had been done. The flagship, now disabled, drifted silently in the vastness of space, a monument to humanity's defiance. On Earth, the resistance erupted into victory. The last alien forces had been repelled, and the invaders, broken and disorganized, were retreating from the planet. General Harris stood before the command center, watching as Earth's skies cleared. The battle was over. Humanity had prevailed. The planet was scared, the cost of survival high, but Earth had won. The aliens, once so certain of their dominance, had been humbled. And as the dawn of a new day broke across the horizon, humanity looked to the future, not as victims, but as victors, ready to rebuild, adapt, and defend their world against any who dared challenge it again.